Hi, it's Corrine, and I'm here today with a Craftin' and Stampin' design team project. I'm working out of the Wildwood Smash Book. It is one of their books from their My Crush line. They have several of the books now. Super, super cute, and they're coming out with more. I will put the link to Jessica's website in case you're interested in this, along with the product codes of what I've used today. So I'm going through the papers and I'm showing you that that is the one that I cut from that piece right there. I cut a portion of that when I was working on that page, and I will still go ahead and use it. I'll show you how here in a minute. But I'm going to start with the page on the right, and I decided I want to cut this page down a little. Now the pages are 10 inches tall, and I decided I wanted at 8 inches. So I'm going to mark off 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom, and I'm placing my tick marks on both sides of the paper. That way now I can line up my ruler and draw a straight line, so when I go to cut it, I have a straight line as a guide to follow. I'm using a cutting mat and placing it underneath my piece of paper, and using my Tim Holtz ruler and my craft knife, I'm just going to again follow that straight line that I drew. And then I'll just finish cutting it with my scissors, cutting it off the binding section. So again, that was 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom. Here is a frame that I cut from the Cameo. I used Heidi Swapp's mixed company paper. And I'm just trying to line that up. I'm going to use my ruler just to get it somewhat even from the top and from the bottom. And then I will place some tick marks in there because I'm going to cut out a window in the middle of that page. So I'm just placing some marks right around each corner of that frame. And then I'll use my ruler to draw some straight lines with those marks. Again, a guide that I can follow with my craft knife. So I'll use my mat again, and same ruler and craft knife. Just turning my book as I cut it just makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. And here I had a little something on my knife, so I was wiping that off. I had my ruler exactly where I wanted it, so I didn't want to move my hand. So that piece of paper I will set aside and save, probably as a mat for a photo. And knowing ahead of time that I was going to be doing this, I did all my measurements ahead of time. Here I took a piece of vellum paper and I printed out a Allie Edwards stamp that says gratitude equals happy heart, and those flowers are from the Silhouette online store. I just moved them around and put them where I wanted to and filled them with some color and printed it out on my computer. So I'm just going to place that behind there and try and decide where I want it, and then again make some tick marks. And then those will be my guide to use my paper trimmer to cut that off. Now, when I printed that out from my computer, depending on what type of ink your computer uses, a lot of times it will take forever to dry on vellum. I've printed something out on vellum that took literally days before. So what I did is I had my clear embossing powder ready to go. So as soon as that came out of the printer, I covered it with clear embossing powder and heat set it. That way I could work with it right away and didn't have to worry about it smearing. So I'm just erasing my pencil lines. And then I will go ahead and add glue to the entire back of the frame. I use my ATG and also even go around with my wet glue to make sure to get in all the edges. So now the vellum does get a little bit warped, so I just really made sure to press it down and it pulled it straight. Now the frame, as you can see on the right there, the teal one, that is Heidi Swap's Sugar Chic. And again, I believe I said this one is from her mixed company paper line. So I'm just pressing that down, making sure it adheres very well. And now I will place that on the back. And as you can see, even the writing is backwards. I still think it looks really pretty, and the flowers look really pretty. So the writing being backwards, I knew, that you would see that, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever. I love how that window ended up looking. I'm just double checking that it was the right way before I placed it down because I already had all my glue on it. I love altering my Smashbooks to make them look a little bit more unique. I was really happy with how this one turned out. So on the side here, that piece of paper I'm showing you is from another Smashbook that I'm working out of, which is also by Close to My Heart. It's the Maudeville book, and I pulled that out to use it for something else, and I saved that piece. So now I'm going to use that here. I marked off the middle of the page so I could use this Martha Stewart 3 scallop punch. I wanted to start right in the middle, so I just marked halfway down the page and used that as my guide to start the punch. And now I realized I wanted to make that page a little bit smaller. So I used my paper trimmer, cut it down, and I cut it completely crooked. So I had to just take a little bit more off. Just make sure that was straight. And I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers 1/2 inch corner punch. Now I can simply pop that right back into the binding. Here I printed off an Allie Edwards stamp. It says, "So many things we love about you." And I'm using a journaling card from the Wildwood assortments. And this is how I print on a journaling card. I get asked about this quite a bit. You print it out first on a piece of copy paper, hold it up to a light, use some tape that you've taken some of the stickiness off, and as you can see the shadow right through the journaling card, so I was really happy where that was. I didn't want it in the middle of the journaling card, I wanted it off to the side. So now I just reran it back through my printer and it'll print exactly where you want it. So you just pull that tape off, and again you want to take some of the stickiness off the tape so it doesn't rip what you're printing on. I wanted to write a small note to my son on the back of that. Here I'm using a Heidi Swap chipboard heart, and these are the ones that you can ink or spray, but I wanted to leave it white. I'm taking off the adhesive backing, and I will also add a little bit of hot glue. I just want to make sure over time it doesn't come off. And then that bow there is also from Heidi Swap's mixed company paper line that I cut out from the Cameo. And I wanted to add a yellow enamel dot to match the yellow in the middle of the flowers. Again, using some hot glue. Even though they are self-adhesive, I want to make sure they're not going to fall off. So now I decide I'm going to go ahead and add my glue and make that a double pocket. So I'm just adding glue to either side, and then just matching it up on the sides. Now I'm going to use the American Crafts glitter tape, and even though I've already rounded those corners, I'm just going to adhere it down and then I'll round the corners again with the tape. again using my 1/2 inch. So I'm going to now glue that second pocket down. And by forming pockets in my Smashbook, which I always do, I'm able to get quite a few photos in there. So by the time I'm done with my Smashbooks, I have just tons of photos throughout, and that's what I like. I like them being interactive. So that's just a note I wrote to my son. And I'm using an extra photo of he and I and put that on the back of another journaling card. And again, I'll journal on the front of that. Since before my son was born, I've been writing notes to him, so here's a large stack of photos that I'll be able to place in the pocket. And now I decided I wanted to use this tag. It's actually a note card. Again, I got this from the Silhouette online store. I'll be sure to put the design number in the description box below if you're interested. And I cut that top piece of paper out of Heidi Swapp's Mix Company paper. I just wanted to add something a little more decorative than just the photos in that pocket. And then I end up adding a bow to that, same paper as the bow on the right side. And for this, I'll use a homemade enamel dot because I knew I wanted to either use gray or white. And I ended up going with the white. And here I'm pulling out another journaling card from that assortment pack, and also one of the sticky tabs. I will have the product codes in the description box below for both those. As you can see, the Wildwood assortment and the sticky tabs, super cute. I will also put a link to Jessica's website in the description box and her YouTube channel as well. The sticky tabs are like Post-it notes, so they do have some stick to them, but I wanted to adhere the entire thing down because they only have stickiness to just the left side of them. So now here's where I decided that I wanted to add, I had some notes from both my husband and my son that I've been holding on to and trying to decide what to do. And so this pocket I thought was perfect for those notes. Because they're just kind of, personal notes that can tuck in there and I can look back someday. And those two things there, I don't know what they're called. They're from both my grandmother's funerals, and that one there is from my mom's funeral. So I thought those were a good place to tuck all those in there as well, that someday my son can look through and see those. And now here's where I decide that that white is a little too white, so I take everything out because I want more of a flat surface. And I'm using these rub-ons from Close to My Heart. I'm not sure if they still sell these anymore, if they're retired, but I do know that they sell rub-ons. And so I put the rub-ons on both the top and bottom of the pocket, and that's all there was to it. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I have some photos coming up, and again, I'll leave all the links in the description box below. Thanks for watching.